I'm a lowlife, but now people call me the king. Tearing it up with every lyric that I bring to the table. Because I'm willing and able. I'm in more homes than Comcast cable. I got the skill that'll rattle your brain. I'm a threat like Saddam Hussein. Everybody know my name. Joe Habib's a top soldier. Kid, they should have told you. You really need to pack a lunch. My words hit hard just like a Tyson punch. So give me a chance. I bet you I can make you dance. Show me your girl. I bet you I get in her pants. I'm breaking egos and money is what I'm stacking. Joe Habib on the mic. You know I'm down for action. Shout out to Make Beats Sir and the Beat Smith and the whole Rope a Dope radio crew. Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody has their opinion on Andrew Tate. He's got a lot of people who don't like him. He's got a lot of people who like him. Obviously, one thing that cannot be denied is he's a very popular figure in social media today and on the internet today. Everybody knows about that. And a lot of people frame him as being a positive figure for young men in today's society, right? He talks about how important masculinity is, and he's a critic of the feminist movement, particularly in the Western world. And in that regard, I agree with him a lot. I do believe that, masculinity over the last couple of decades has taken a hit in society, particularly in the Western world, and femininity has been on a rise. And I don't think that's been for the benefit of society, right? So I agree with what he's been saying, and not only him, but you can date it back to the old days of Rollo Tomasi, who's been a very big influence in the manosphere. And you got guys today like Donovan Sharp, Fresh and Fit. The list goes on, and we even have women who are on board with the so quote unquote red pill manosphere type message that's being put out there, right? So as everyone knows, Andrew Tate got arrested. I think it was December 29th, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of these old charges that he was accused of, right? They popped back up. He's been accused of rape, human trafficking, kidnapping or holding women against their will. A lot of different things that he's been accused of. And he was arrested, and I believe he's under investigation. And he's going to be held in the Romanian prison for about 30 days. I don't know how that whole court system works. I don't know if he's officially been charged with any crime. I don't know if there's any court dates set, but I do know that they're investigating these accusations. They're collecting evidence right now. They have the same women who came out and accused Andrew Tate of rape before, came out again. And originally, I think it was in the UK, there wasn't enough evidence for them to go ahead and proceed and charge him with the crime. So they decided to not go ahead with the rape. And I know like a lot of people have their opinion on when women come out and they accuse a man of rape, right? And a lot of things seem kind of weird to me. You hear things like women don't come right out and go to the authorities right away. They suppress their feelings. They're afraid to go to the authorities for whatever reason. They just whether it be shame or what have you, but they have no problem, it seems, going to the media, going to the internet. So I've always struggled with this. Like you have a problem going to the authorities, but you have no problem going to the media, going to the internet, going to the social media networks. It just seems a little funny to me. Like something that serious happens to you and you don't report it right away. And then another thing kind of baffles me too. Like if you accuse somebody of rape, but yet you stay with that person in a relationship and you continue to have like a relationship with them, that kind of strikes me as a little weird and peculiar too. And again, this is just my opinion. I mean, obviously this can be debated back and forth, so the whole rape thing with Andrew Tate, I just have a hard time believing the rape charges, because this guy can have any woman he wants. And we've seen him, video footage of him at his home, right? He's got several women there, and they don't look like they're being held against their will, right? They don't look like that they're being forcefully detained there, in my opinion, And he's even had, his old girlfriend come out and say that she consented to the violent, aggressive sex that was put out there on camera. So a lot of women, you could argue that they like to be dominated, and that could be their thing, right? And this woman did agree, did admit to it. So I have a hard time believing that, he raped anybody. I don't think he has to rape anybody. That charge, again, just my opinion, I find that charge hard to believe, if I'm being honest. Now, the whole kidnapping thing and sex trafficking thing, all you got to do really is look on the internet today, look at the OnlyFans, look on Instagram, and women have no problem nowadays monetizing their sexuality and putting out explicit pictures of themselves, explicit videos of themselves. It's often celebrated today that, women should embrace her sexuality. She should be free to do so and not be judged by it. And then when you have people who are quote unquote masculine men, red pill men, they will tell you that promiscuity is not, a favorable quality in a woman. And I agree with that. But to each his own. If a woman wants to do those things, then she faces the consequences of that. So you may ask yourself, why would these women need Andrew Tate? Well, OnlyFans wasn't always around, right? So a lot of women didn't have the ability, or probably didn't have the knowledge to do OnlyFans, maybe 10 years ago. I don't really know how long OnlyFans has been around, but it hasn't been around a long time, and it certainly hasn't been as popular, like maybe 5 years ago, than it is now, right? So it's definitely different. We see a lot of women on OnlyFans, and they're making a lot of money. So again, in today's society, women have no problem sexualizing themselves. A lot of women, I should say, a large majority of them. So for someone to have to coerce them into doing something sexually explicit, like Andrew Tate's business was, the webcam business, I have a hard time believing that as well. And when he described his original story, he said he had 5 girls there, and 4 of the 5 girls left and 1 stayed. So if these girls were being held against their will, then why did he tell you 4 of them left, right? Now, did he manipulate them? It's quite possible, right? Did he make them believe that they needed him? Did he make them develop a dependency for him? That's all quite possible, right? But again, is that illegal? You know what I'm saying? Like when you have a company, right, and they do an advertisement, you don't think that they're sometimes kind of, when they try to target a specific customer, you don't think there's any type of manipulation there? You don't think there's any type of they're trying to lead you in a certain direction, whatever. They're trying to convince you of something, right? Now, you could argue that may not be ethical, but we have to determine and distinguish between what's ethical and what is illegal. So I struggle with the sex trafficking thing. I really do, right? I do struggle with that because, again, in today's society, we do see a ton of women who have no problem taking their clothes off or wearing very little clothing, if at all. There's just we're in a different world right now where women just aren't afraid, and they don't feel shame in showing their sexuality, right? And monetizing it, right? We go on the internet and shout out to shows like Fresh and Fit, and you got women on there. Oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, what do you do? I'm on OnlyFans. Well, what do you do on OnlyFans? You know what I mean? And it all boils down to something sexual. And these girls are making 10,000, 20,000 a month doing this, right? So the money is there for these women. So I don't think it takes a lot of convincing to have a woman want to do something like this, because they're making more money than they've ever made in their lives, and they're making more money than doctors and lawyers, some of them, right? So I don't think you'd have to twist a woman's arm to want to do something like that in today's society, right? I just don't think so. And you could argue, well, why didn't they just open up OnlyFans? Why didn't they just, Andrew Tate is a well-known man, right? He's a successful man. He's got connections. I'm sure he's and he's already shown us how great he is at marketing. And he also said that when these women were working for me, they were making 5,000 5,000 a month, and then when they left me and tried to do it themselves, they were only making 2,000 a month. So obviously, this man knows how to market, right? He knows how to create businesses. This guy knows how to make money. Now you can question the way he makes money, but once again, we have to separate, ethics, morality, right, versus legality. So far, I'm not seeing anything illegal here, right? I'm not seeing anything illegal here, right? So I have a hard time struggling with the rape, and I have a hard time struggling with the trafficking, right? Because these women are living there. Some of these women have left, some have stayed, right? So I have a hard time kind of believing those two things, right? Here's a couple things you can criticize, right? So you have a guy who is supposed to be for the betterment of men. He's all about masculinity, and he's all about traditional feminine women, right? And a lot of these guys will talk about these things, and they'll promote these things. They'll promote self-betterment, go to the gym, try to make as much money as you can, be successful, improve yourself financially, physically, be the best version of yourself first, so you can be that masculine figure that the feminine woman will want and need and desire, right? And a lot of these men will criticize, particularly the Western women, saying that they're overly promiscuous, they're not traditional, and they're not wife material, right? But then in the same token, a lot of these guys will brag about how they have several women, and they're for recreational use only, right? So they will criticize women for being hoes, and then when the women will flip it on them and say, well, what about you? Well, we can't be hoes. We're homemakers, right? And that's fine. Like, men generally are, we're different than women. I agree with all I agree with everything. Like it's more socially acceptable for a man to have multiple partners than it is for a woman. I just think men are wired differently. I understand all that. You can disagree with that if you want as a woman. You can make your decisions on what you want to tolerate from a man. But I do agree with, the higher status the man is, the more money he makes, better looking that he is, he's going to have way more options, and more than likely is going to exercise those options. I'm not. That's the reality of the situation. I don't think that's necessarily a horrible thing. But once again, when it comes to the woman, right, trying to do the same thing, be with multiple partners, it's going to be frowned upon because, once again, men are designed and wired genetically, psychologically, physiologically different than women, right? We don't necessarily have to connect with a woman emotionally to want to have sex with her, where a woman is different. You know, they're designed to have sex with one partner. I mean, when they get pregnant, they basically can, you know, only deliver one child a year, right? Basically. So why was it set up that way? Because women really, in my opinion, and I think history will show that, you know, I think they're designed to not really have multiple partners, right? From a genetic standpoint, from a gender standpoint. I think from a gender role perspective, women are not designed to have multiple partners where men historically were, right? From a gender role perspective. But that's neither here nor there. But a lot of these influencers, not only just in the manosphere, but in every genre and facet of social media and YouTube, they give a lot of advice, right? They give a lot of advice, but do they actually follow that advice? So you're telling men to be the best version of themselves they can be, so they can find that one woman that is of high quality as well. And what is a high quality woman? Being fit, being feminine, and being friendly. I know a lot of the manosphere guys like to use that, the 3 F's: fit, feminine, and friendly. Men who are of a high value and have a lot of money don't really care about how much a woman makes, right? I get all that, right? So this is the message that Andrew Tate puts out there. He's part of all of that, right? But here's where the contradiction lies. So if you're so critical of the fact that the majority of these women are non-traditional, right? And you're so critical of men who simp for these non-traditional women, and they'll have OnlyFans subscriptions, they'll pay for these webcam services, and you advise men not to do all these things, right? But then again, you turn around and you have a webcam business that actually promotes this debauchery in women, right? That promotes this over sexualizing and objectifying and you know, you're basically part of the problem by promoting the act of women over sexualizing themselves, because you have a webcam business where these types of women you tell men to avoid, you're making them accessible to, right? You're promoting what you're advising against, right? And then you're selling this product to the so-called men who you advise should not be doing this, right? You call these types of men simps, right? So it's hypocrisy, right? It's hypocrisy. So you're part of your own hypocrisy here. So you're for women not being promiscuous and not over sexualizing themselves, right? And you're for men not trying to look for women like this and not paying these women to over sexualize themselves, right? But yet you are the conduit for those two very things to happen, right? So that's the problem I think you can point out here. So he's he's putting out a message about masculinity, right? Being the best version of yourself, right? Trying to find that one woman who's of high value, the fit, feminine, and friendly woman, right? That woman who's not promiscuous, who doesn't have a high body count, someone who respects herself, and therefore can respect you, and you people can look at that woman and know that she's of high quality, and you won't have to go out in public with the woman who over sexualizes herself, and people look at you saying, well, yeah, I know a lot of guys that ran through that girl, right? And then that makes you look bad, right? That makes you look like you're hanging around with a lower quality woman, right? In a lot of people's mind. But yet you're creating a business and you're marketing those types of women to younger men, right? Because let's look at the facts here, the statistics. Majority of these consumers of OnlyFans and these porn sites and these webcam sites, a lot of them are young men. So how are you helping young men if you're help promoting this debauchery that you say you're so strongly against, right? Imagine if you're a father, you have a son that comes to you, or you're at a Thanksgiving dinner table, and you're going around the table and everyone's talking about what they do for work, and then your son says, "Yeah, I own a webcam business." I mean, is that a business where you're actually contributing to society? How are you helping women and helping men there by promoting that type of business or being part of that type of business? So, is it illegal? No. Does that mean he's a sex trafficker? I don't think so. You could argue against it, but I just don't think it's you have to twist a woman's arm to want to do what these women were doing for him. Then the argument is, we're going to revisit this. The argument is, well, why couldn't they just do it themselves? Well, again, he's giving them a place to live. He's a lot of these women are staying with him or whatever. He's doing a lot of the networking for them, right? He's giving them a lot of the customers. He's connected, right? So they can make more money with him than without him. So that's probably why they utilize that. Now, did he convince him that they needed him? Did he try to make them depend on him? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, a lot of companies do that. A lot of companies manipulate customers and tell customers that they need this particular product. They need to use the products from this particular company. That's all what marketing is, right? We're the best company, right? That's all what marketing is. Now, are any of these things illegal? No. But let's talk about what things can be questionable here and what things could possibly be illegal, right? And what things could be problematic from a legal standpoint for Andrew Tate, right? There is some video footage out there of Andrew Tate bragging about how he does manipulate the women. But once again, is that illegal? I don't think so. I mean, so you're trying to convince these women to work for you, whatever, and then once they start working for you, at any time they can leave, right? They can leave at any time. It's like when you go on a job interview and you get interviewed for a job and you're told you're going to do this, this, and this, and then you start doing the job, and then your employer says, well, you're going to be doing that, that, and that. I mean, he misled you, but is that illegal? No, he's just adding duties to your job, whatever. So that's not illegal. But a couple things here that kind of jump out at me when he's sitting there talking about how when he says to the woman, yeah, we're going 50-50, and then he only gives the woman 30%. And then when she comes to him and says, well, where's the other 20%? Well, that's for taxes, right? So then they ask to look at the paperwork. And then he says, I print out these tax forms and I let them sign them. And then after they sign them, I throw them away, right? So if I make $10,000, instead of giving them $5,000, I'm only giving them $3,000. And I'm basically telling them that the other $2,000 is for taxes, but I'm really not paying taxes with the $2,000. To me, that sounds like tax evasion. Now, I don't know what type of paperwork these women filled out in terms of any, if there was any other paperwork they filled out. I don't know for certain if he is paying taxes on the money he's making, right? But by him saying those things, he's kind of indicating to me that maybe he's not paying all the taxes he's supposed to be paying. And if you're going to sit there and brag about that on camera, and you're telling the Romanian government, putting that information out there for the Romanian government to hear, so you're making tens of millions of dollars in my country, and you're not paying the taxes you're supposed to pay on those those tens of millions of dollars, then that's a problem, right? That's number one. So tax evasion is an issue, in my opinion. It could be an issue, in my opinion, based off of what he has said on camera. It's his face. He says it, I tell these women I'm going 50-50, and I only give them 30%. I tell them the other 20% is for taxes. Then they ask him ask to look at the paperwork, and he has them fill out these tax forms, and he throws the tax forms away. So he's telling, and then he basically admitting he's not paying taxes with that $2,000, right? That's tax evasion. I don't know how he's going to get away. I don't know how he's going to get around that. To me, that's a problem. That's a problem. Number one. Number two, there is such a crime called wage theft. So going back to the paperwork that these girls could have or could not have filled out, if they went into an agreement with him that we're going to go 50-50 here, and they filled out some type of contractual agreement with him, which I don't know if they did or not. I don't know if it was a contractual written agreement or if it was a verbal agreement. But either way, if it can be proved that there was some type of binding agreement between the two parties that we're going 50-50, and now you're only giving them 30%, that's considered wage theft. That's another crime. So those are the two things that kind of stick out to me, right? Those are the two things that kind of stick out to me. So you can criticize him for, is he being hypocritical of the message, right? Of being the best version of yourself, right? Because he's in phenomenal shape. He takes care of himself. So he's living that part of it. He's made a lot of money. Whether you like the way he's done it or not, the only two things that kind of jump out to me is maybe tax evasion and possibly wage theft. But the business itself, is it illegal? Well, all you got to do is look on the internet and look at all the webcam sites that are out there, and look at all the OnlyFans accounts that are out there, and look at all the porn sites that are out there. You may think that they're not ethical. You may think they're immoral. You may frown upon that, right? You don't have to like it, but once again, is it illegal? No. But from a moral standpoint, from an ethical standpoint, and just from an overall message standpoint, if you're telling people that women shouldn't behave that way, but yet you're enticing and encouraging and you're paying women to act that way, then are you part of the problem? And if you're telling men to not really deal with women like that and give those types of women money, but yet you're selling those types of women to men and you're making millions of dollars off of that, from an ethical standpoint, are you really helping men? Or are you contributing to a lot of the issues that men deal with today when you want to say that they're simping? Are you being a means to an end for those men who are actually simping out there? Are you part of the problem by having this webcam business? That's a legitimate question that I think, can ask Andrew Tate. It's like these influencers out there, these fitness influencers out there who are all jacked up on a lot of PEDs. And again, that's fine. Do what you want to do. But then you're telling people that, you can get like this through a good diet and training, right? But you're not telling them about the PEDs. Now, again, a lot of these guys are genetically gifted. So even with the PEDs or without the PEDs, these guys are going to look better than the average guy. But you are misleading people by telling them, or not telling them, but implying that they can get somewhat close to that level through diet and exercise. And a lot of the times the diet the training program and a lot of the things that you're giving it, telling these people to do, you're not doing it yourself, So should you take advice from people who don't follow their own advice? And are they just giving you that advice because they really, quote unquote, care, want to make you better? Or are they making money off of it? And again, this is a capitalistic society that we live in for the most part. And that's what it's all about. People want to make money, but then they kind of virtue signal and say, well, I'm doing this to help people. Meanwhile, these guys are making millions and millions of dollars, driving around in Bugattis and bragging about how much money and cars and nice things they have. And they're doing it at your expense. And they're telling you they're doing it because they care about you, but all the while they're laughing all the way to the bank. So these are things you have to look at. Now, the message of being the best version of yourself, that's great. That's great. But is this the right guy to be giving you that message based upon all the other things I just talked about? Right? So let's kind of go over some of the businesses Andrew Tate has, right? How this guy's made his money, right? And his businesses are rumored to generate $10 million a month, right? And a lot of these businesses are based upon these so-called people of his that he's trying to make better and help, right? And improve their lives, right? It all comes at a monetary cost, right? So he started off as a professional kickboxer, and he was making anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a fight. He's fighting about 3 or 4 times a year, so he was making a decent living doing kickboxing, right? So right then and there, he was. Can't really criticize that profession, right? That's a good profession, it's kind of an honorable, upstanding position, right? I guess he's involved with I think he has his own television advertising company, it says here, as one of his businesses. He has a webcam modeling company. I don't know if he still does that. I'm not sure if he still does that. That's still a part of his businesses. At one point, he was involved in Romanian casinos. I don't know if he still does that. We all know about the online courses that he sells. The Real World is a financial course, I think, that he has now, and the membership is $49 a month, right? And he has the War Room, where he has men join this, where he shows people how to become entrepreneurs. And if you look at that Vice documentary, he had some type of seminar, some type of retreat where I guess people were paying $5,000 to be part of this retreat. And they had like meetings, and they had like a MMA style type fighting, and people could partake in the fighting if they wanted to. And if they didn't, they didn't have to. So that War Room and that Real World, part of the membership type websites and programs that he has, right? And that's part of his online courses. Then he has like an OnlyFans management company where he helps OnlyFans models maximize their earning potential. And then he has his own merch, and then he has a supplement company as well. So once again, the supplement company, that's nothing wrong with that, really. Again, you can critique supplements and how effective they are, but a lot of people, there's no law against selling supplements. There's no law against doing anything he's doing here, right? But let's look at it from a standpoint where how do these companies kind of fall in line with the message he's trying to put out there? So again, supplements, you can argue, can help with the improvement of a man, of the man, help them get in the best shape of their life. The merch, if you want to promote the merch, if you want to be part of the team, that's fine. Like you want to be on board with the message and you want to wear the merch to kind of promote the message. Okay, I get that. Now here's where it gets a little hazy here. Like the Real World, where you're paying this guy $49 a month, right? And you're getting financial advice from him. But is the advice he's giving you the same advice that he's followed in his life. He tells people don't keep money in the bank, don't buy property. If you buy property, the government can take it from you. I mean, if this is the information, because we've heard him say this in interviews before, if this is the financial information he's giving people, I mean, he has a bank account because he was complaining about when he got canceled, his bank accounts were seized. This is a guy who owns property. He owns a house, owns real estate, but then he's telling you not to own property, not to own real estate. So again, is he practicing what he's preaching? The same thing with the war room, once again, we look at the OnlyFans management. He's helped contributing to the sexualization of women, and that the same women that he criticizes against and he tells men to avoid, but yet he's promoting it. The casino, okay, that's fine. I mean, everyone likes to gamble. Nothing wrong with gambling, right? And the webcam company, once again, promoting the debauchery that he speaks so highly against, right? And I don't know too much about the television advertising company. I don't know how we know anything too much about that. And the kickboxing kickboxing career is a legitimate thing. So when you look at how this guy's made a lot of his money, right? Does it kind of contradict the message he's trying to put out there? So he's monetized a lot of the things that he's critical of, and he tells you to avoid, but it's okay for him as long as he's making money off of it. So that's what you have to look at. That's what you have to look at. Does that mean he's a rapist? No. Does that mean he's a sex trafficker? No. And I suspect very strongly that he is not either one of those things, and I don't think he's committed a crime in those two areas. But if you're on camera bragging about how you're telling women they're paying taxes that they're not paying, that's, to me, tax evasion. And if you're entering an agreement with the woman, telling them that we're going to go 50-50, and you're only giving them 30%, that's wage theft. That's potential fraud, right? That's potential fraud, right? So, again, we're not saying that people don't have to be saints. We're not saying that anyone who does these things, like in terms of if a woman wants to go on OnlyFans, if she wants to be a porn star, if she wants to be a webcam model, none of those things are illegal. She's well within her rights to do those things. But if you're on the internet and you're speaking out against all those things, and you're saying that those things are bad for traditional, for traditional women and for traditional men, then basically you're a part of your own hypocrisy. So should this man be the man to be giving this positive advice, even if it is positive? Should you take this guy seriously based upon his background and the way he's made his money, right? Should you take these things serious from him? Does that mean that I don't think people are blowing a lot of things out of proportion, taking things out of context that he says? Do I think a lot of the things he says are tongue-in-cheek? Do I think he is kidding around about a lot of things he says? Do I think he's playing a character? Yeah. And you argue like he's, by being a character, by being entertaining, it helps draw people to him. And then some of the positive things he says will be absorbed from these people because they're attracted to the image that he portrays. Yeah, you can argue that. But what you do have to argue and weigh, you have to weigh the positives against the negatives, right? You have to weigh the positive against the negatives, right? Do I think this man is a misogynist? I can't say with 100% certainty I think he is, right? Do I think he holds women in high regard? I think he does. Do I think he holds all women in high regard? Do I think women as a whole, does he hold in high regard? Maybe not. Like if you're bragging about how you're saying these women that are working for you are stupid, right? And you're manipulating them out of cash and you're beating them for money, right? And you're saying that women who have high body counts, women who over sexualize themselves, women who are on webcams and taking their clothes off in front of men for money. If you're saying that those women are of low value, but yet you're promoting that, then are you respecting all women by that? By your own logic, you look down upon those types of women, right? But yet but yet you're using those women to make money off them. So on a whole, can we say that this guy respects all women? You have to question that. Does that mean he hates all women? Does that mean he looks down at all women? Does that mean he can't find a woman and marry her and treat her like a lady? No, that doesn't mean he can't do all those things. So on a whole, is he a misogynistic person? I don't think you can say that unequivocally. I don't think you can make that claim. And then when they have these websites out there saying he's a self-described misogynist, he's never called himself a misogynist. He's never said those things. So is the mainstream media twisting things, taking things out of context? Yes. But are there some of these things? Has he done a lot of this himself? If you're on camera bragging about not paying taxes, beating women out of money, right? Hustling women, saying that you're exploiting these women because they're stupid, right? Is that an honorable, ethical thing to do? Are we supposed to look at you as an upstanding contributor to society by doing those things, right? So you could be criticized for that. You openly admitted that that's what you did, right? And then you're on there saying how corrupt the Romanian government is, right? And you say if you have enough money in Romania, you can get away with just about anything. So you're basically throwing it in the Romanian government's face that, you know what? You're putting out this message that I'm rich, I make enough money, where potentially I can be above the law because this system is so corrupt that no matter what I do, I can buy my way out of it, right? You're telling the rest of the world that. And then when the Romanian government looks at that, they're saying to themselves, this guy's trying to make us look like idiots. He's insulting us. He's coming to our country, right? Making tens of millions of dollars at our expense, right? Looks like he's not paying taxes on everything he's earning, right? And he's telling everyone that he could do whatever he wants here because we have a corrupt judicial system, and they may very well have, right? But I'm sure they don't like to hear people brag about exploiting the corruption, right? I'm sure they don't like hearing that, right? So is this man being targeted because he's a threat? Or is this guy basically being a megalomaniac, thinking he can do whatever he wants and not be held to any consequence, right? I don't have to pay taxes. I can cheat people out of money. I can hustle people and tell them I'm giving them 50% that work for me, but I'm only giving them 30%, right? I could break laws, right? And because I am Andrew Tate, I have this high status, I have this money, I'm just going to buy my way out of it. And it's not only him that has this perception. I know we talked about the Tank Davis situation. And the perception is with a lot of boxing fans, oh, he's got enough money, so he'll just buy his way out of all these problems. But at some point, the system becomes very, the system's credibility comes into question, right? And they start looking bad, right? And no one wants to look or be made to look in a negative light. No government, right, wants to hear people around the world say, oh, this is a corrupt place to live, and criminals who have a lot of money can just buy their way out of crimes. And like, it's an embarrassment to have that image, right, be put upon you, right? So after a while, a court system, when you a court system who has a reputation of letting off people lightly, right? When the spotlight is on them, once the spotlight gets put on you and the negativity gets exposed to the whole world, right? And you become the punchline of other people's jokes. No group, people, person, or thing likes to have a negative spotlight put upon them and be embarrassed like that. Nobody wants that. So what Andrew Tate has done, in my opinion, and once again, I say this in my opinion, is he's made the Romanian government and judicial system look incompetent, looked corrupt, right? Right? And you can argue, well, Beeb, they were already like that before Andrew Tate. Yes, possibly, probably. But who was out there taking a spotlight and shining it on those things, right? It's like the mafia. They told John Gotti, hey, don't flaunt your wealth. Don't go out there, right, and expose the operation, right? We don't want all this attention on us. We don't want people to know what we're doing here. But what did John Gotti do? He went out there and he flaunted it. And he brought all this attention to himself. And the mafia wasn't happy about it, right? So maybe there was a time when the Romanian government may have let a lot of things go unnoticed, allow a lot of things to be swept under the rug. But now you have this modern day John Gotti who is out there flaunting it, being ostentatious with it, letting everyone know what he's doing. I'm getting over. Well, Beeb, why would he be so stupid? I'll tell you why. Guys like Andrew Tate, John Gotti, and even Donald Trump said, I can go out there in Times Square in the middle of the day and shoot somebody and my supporters will still follow me. Because these people get to a certain level, right? Have a certain amount of people follow them. And they feel that they are powerful and they are put on such a pedestal and they get this status, right? And once a person becomes this type of human being, right? Once they get to this level, they become a megalomaniac, and they have this delusion in their mind that they are untouchable, right? Listen to the way the guy talks. Listen to some of the interviews, and you can say, "Oh, baby's just playing a character. He's just playing a character," but is he really? There comes a point where, even like when Bret Hart was in the WWE, and the big criticism on him was a lot of people would make fun of him because he was a mock for himself. He was a mock for his own character. He couldn't take an L because, oh, what would the people think? Bret, this is not real. You're playing a character. You know what I mean? Like, these guys start out playing a character, but eventually they start believing in this character. They start thinking this character is real, right? And they become megalomaniacs. They develop this perception of themselves that, you know what? I could do whatever I want and no one can stop me. How many times did this guy, oh, no one can stop me. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. I can go wherever I want. I can just jump in a jet and do whatever I want. I can go to any country I want. Right? I'm always going to be rich. No one can stop me. You hear people say things like that. I can go in the middle of Times Square and shoot somebody, and I still have people love and support me. These are all the traits of not only a narcissistic person, but a megalomaniac, person who thinks he's all powerful and no one can touch them. No one can stop me. John Gotti believed that. He started reading the headlines, right? The Teflon Don, how he kept beating the government. And he would shove it in their face. He would flaunt it in their face. That's the same thing I believe Andrew Tate is doing now. So all of the defenders of Andrew Tate who are saying, well, why would he be that stupid to do all that? Why would he flaunt it like that? Because he thinks he is untouchable. He's reached such a status and such a level that he thinks that no one can stop him. And you shoved it in the Romanian government's face for so long, right? And then people say, well, now the U.S. government, the U.S. embassy got involved in it. Yeah, you could argue that, because what does the U.S. like to do? They shame these other governments. They like to shame these other governments, and these other governments want to be looked upon in a positive light, not only in the U.S. government, but the rest of the world. That's why you have what's called sports washing in Saudi Arabia, right? There's only so long these countries want to have this negative image, but then they get shamed by the other countries, most notably the United States, right? We love to shame these countries, right? And they want to still do the backdoor fucking slimy shit, right? The grimy shit. And I'm sure Andrew Tate's done a lot of grimy shit. That doesn't mean it's illegal, but it's grimy shit what he does, right? And a lot of these governments like to do grimy shit, right? But they want to be able to, so quote unquote, sports wash it, entertainment wash it, whatever the case may be. They can't do that when they got a guy out there, right, who's putting a spotlight on it all, where they don't want it to be out. They want to continue to do it, but they don't want it to be put out there in the public eye. They want to be able to do it, but not have that spotlight on them. And this is where Andrew Tate, I believe, fucked up, because he started believing in his character, right? He wants to be his character now. Before it was just to get attention, make money, right? And develop a following. But now it's gotten to a point where he believed in his own character. All you got to do is look at that Vice documentary, right? Where his brother Tristan says, and a lot of people, in that documentary that were there present, right? For that weekend, I believe, what was that weekend called again? It was the war room retreat that they had. They were all saying to him, why do you have this guy in here? Right? He's trying to expose us. He's trying to put us and make us look like, and put us in a negative light. And what did Andrew Tate kept saying? Oh, he can't hurt us. Don't worry about it. Basically, he thought he was so big that no matter what this guy said, doesn't matter. People will still support me. People will still follow me. I'll still be able to monetize myself and my brand. And everyone else around him was saying, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea, bringing this guy in here, right? All he's trying to do is exploit us, right? But Andrew Tate, because he was so overconfident in himself, thinking that he was untouchable and no one can touch me, no one can hurt me. He said it during the exchange with his brother. Oh, I'm untouchable. We're untouchable. Go back and listen to it. Right? He was that arrogant where he's even bringing his own enemies into his camp. Right? People that could hurt him. Right? Damage his image, right? And he's willingly bringing these people in his camp, knowing they have the agenda to do just that, right? But because he's so arrogant, thinks he's so unstoppable, because he's such a megalomaniac, he did these things. And then when he's getting arrested, right? He goes, this is just the Matrix, right? This is the Matrix trying to stop me. right? Trying to make himself look like the Matrix is the bad guy and he's the man of righteousness, right? And then here's the biggest form of narcissism, the biggest quality of being a megalomaniac. Oh, they want to stop me because I'm a threat, right? Because my message, right, takes the control away from them, right? But what he really wants is, he wants to be the guy pulling the strings, in my opinion. He wants to be the guy that people follow. He wants to be the guy who's controlling things, right? So once again, being a part of your own hypocrisy, right? I'm going to, just like what governments do, they give the people a message that, and they try to convince them that that message is going to help them, right? It's going to help them, right? So the people start supporting the government because they think the government is there to help them. So he's telling these people, I'm here to help you. I'm here to make you a better person. And again, is he really saying anything that's of novelty, that's authentic? No. But the way he's saying it and the image he has and the way he looks and just the way he's marketing himself, yeah. He's been able to have more eyes be drawn to him. He's a polarizing figure. We know this. So he's been more successful at it than a lot of these other people who have done it before him. Right? Because he's a brilliant marketer. There's no question about it. He's a brilliant marketer. Right? But does he really care? Or does he want the power? Does he want the fame? Does he want the money? Does he want the glory? Do those things mean more to him than helping society, helping these young men? Do these young men need to follow this guy, this human being, this man, to get that positive message? Right? Do they need this person in particular to be the one to deliver the message, right, of self-betterment, right? Whether it be physically, mentally, psychologically, financially, right? Do they need to hear these things from him, right? And when you see a guy out there making money through a webcam business, managing OnlyFans models, being part of the debauchery, being part of the over-sexualizing of women, right? The very thing that he preaches against, is he the right guy to deliver the message? That's what you have to ask yourself. And if I'm being objective, as much as I find the guy entertaining, as much as even myself enjoy watching him being interviewed for entertainment purposes only, but I can't ignore the hypocrisy in it all. I can't ignore the hypocrisy of it all. Does that mean I think he's a rapist? I don't think the man's a rapist. I really don't. Does that mean I think the guy is a sex trafficker? Well, if he's a sex trafficker, then you're gonna have to go after all these webcam sites then, right? How many stories have we heard about these porn stars, right? Who run away from home, right? And who get addicted to drugs, right? And who fall in love with this guy who tells them that I'm going to be there for them. And then he gets them into the porn business. Like, we've seen this story time and time again, right? Now, that's not to say it's morally right, ethically right. But does that mean it's illegal? No. So he's not doing anything differently than OnlyFans than a lot of these other webcam sites have done, right? So you can't be mad at him for doing it and not call out all these other people for doing it either, right? Till we wake up tomorrow and OnlyFans gets shut down and all these webcam sites get shut down and X videos get shut down and all these other porn sites get shut down. It's $1 billion industry that's not going away anytime soon, with or without Andrew Tate, right? The sexualization of women, in my opinion, will not get better in terms of women becoming more conservative. No, it's only going to grow, right? You're not going to stop this. This is going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to grow, and it's continue to grow. You're going to see more of these webcam sites open up on the internet. You're going to see more of these porn sites opening up. And here's the thing, man. A lot of these women are complaining that they have their content on all these sites, and they're not getting residuals on it. But once again, there's not going to be an Actors Guild union like the actors have, right? In porn. Porn is never going to be looked upon as an honorable thing. You have to understand that. If you are in the sex industry, you are going to be looked upon in a negative way. You're going to be looked down upon morally, ethically, right? No man is going to take you to Thanksgiving dinner and be happy about saying to his family, yeah, this girl that I'm seeing, right? She's a porn star, right? So you again, these short-term benefits, right? These short-term gains and benefits have long-term losses and consequences, right? With or without Andrew Tate, that's the uncomfortable truth and the harsh reality of the world, right? Does that mean that Beeb is saying that boycott all the porn sites, boycott all the OnlyFans sites, boycott all the webcam sites? No. But if you are a friend of mine or a relative of mine, and I find out that you have OnlyFans memberships and subscriptions, that I find out you're paying for porn, that you're paying a webcam site, I will give you my opinion on it. I will give you my opinion on it, and I will let you know that I don't think it's a good thing for you to do, to be honest. That's just my opinion. I don't think that's a good thing that you should do. So that's just my advice. You don't have to listen to it. But I do think Andrew Tate, if I'm going to give you my honest opinion on how this whole thing is going to play out, if I'm going to give you this whole opinion on how I think this whole thing is going to play out, the rape thing, I don't think the rape thing is going to hold up. I don't think the sex trafficking thing is going to hold up. I do think I do feel that he's going away for tax evasion. I do think he's going away for tax evasion and possibly wage theft. But I feel very, very strongly that he's going away. He's going away for tax evasion because he is on camera bragging about not paying the taxes. So this whole thing about, oh yeah, the Matrix wants to stop me because I'm a threat. Come on, bro. They're not, like, Alex Jones has said 10 times worse things than this guy said. Alex Jones just got sued for $1.5 billion and he lost the suit, right? But they're not trying to lock him up. But here's the thing, man. Alex Jones paid his taxes, as far as I know. So you can't go out there, like I said, and brag about how corrupt this system is and how rich people can usually pay their way out of situations here, and that's the thing, man. That's the thing. So, you can't put a spotlight on this government, which Andrew Tate has done, and brag about how corrupt this government is, and brag about if you're rich in this country, and brag about I left the UK and came here so I could do things here that I wouldn't be able to do in the UK or in the Western world in general. So you're basically throwing it in their face that you're exploiting the corruption of this government. And you're embarrassing this government, in my opinion, to the rest of the world, right? So that's why they're doing to you what they're doing to you, in my opinion. So I don't believe he raped the women, because the women came. There were a lot of women that came out and said that, yeah, we've had rough sex with him. We like it, and a lot of women do have remorse and feel guilty after having sex with the guy for a multiple amount of reasons, right? Multiple amount of reasons, because the guy may have sex with them and not give them attention anymore, right? And they may feel shamed about that. Well, they may have regrets about. So a lot of times, a woman will do something, right, and feel guilty about it afterwards. Maybe in the moment they weren't thinking about the consequences of their actions. They weren't thinking, from an ethical or moral standpoint, and they just went and did it, right? And then afterwards, right? Then afterwards, they have second thoughts, and they have thoughts of anger, just like Mike Tyson. I don't believe he raped Desiree Washington. I don't believe it, right? I don't believe it. I don't think Mike Tyson did that. You don't go to a man's hotel room at 2 a.m, right? And not think that, again, there was evidence of her accusing someone else for rape before, and it was a false claim. So it is what it is, man. So I like I said, it's my opinion. The same case that they brought up against him a couple years back, they're bringing it up again, and they're bringing the same witnesses. And then the witnesses were texting each other, right? Saying, do you think we should you think we should hide the fact that we were drunk? Do you think we should mention that in our statement? So all these women were in cahoots with each other, making sure that they were all on the same page. And these women stayed with Andrew Tate for months. So if you got raped by somebody, right, and you don't, and then months later or weeks later, whatever the case may be, then you go to the cops with it, and you stay with the same person. Like, a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. So someone rapes you, and you still stay with that person and have sex with that person, right? And you don't go to the police right away, and then you go to the police weeks or months later, but you go to the media first. Like, a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense to me, if I'm being honest. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I don't know. I just don't know. So I strongly question the rape thing, and I strongly question the sex trafficking thing. So, I'm curious to see how this whole thing plays out, but I do think at the very least, there is a high probability that this man will go away for tax evasion at the very least, in my opinion. That's all I got, guys. Beavis out. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast, 6 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday. Beavis out. Peace.